Tell all your friends about it. Share it with everyone on Facebook, YouTube, and now tell them that if you don't like Facebook or YouTube, you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com and watch without going into social media, which is a social dilemma. It really is. Some people don't want to be a part of it, but they want to see the classroom live. And here we are. Win-win. And today we have Dr. Jennifer Gramith and Dr. Cindy Stillwell. So I'm going to start the record button and we're going to get started. Okay. So fasten your seatbelt because we're going to learn about the proper and the ultimate in digestion. Get ready to dance. Here we go. Let's learn and grow together.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative and natural ways to heal. And it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as you know, Dr. Jen has been coming in the classroom now probably about 2-3 years. I have lost count of how many times she's been in the classroom. And while she's been with us, she's taught us about the lymphatic system, emotions and mindset, the importance of that. We've done a cleanse together. We've learned about energy medicine. And last time she came on, we talked with her team. We met her team. This has been a growth process with Rightway Health and Wellness. Well, during that time in our conversation, Dr. Cindy Stillwell joined us, as well as all the other women, but her specialty is digestion and the way the gut works. And so we kind of felt that we needed to talk more about that topic. And so they were all good with it. They said, okay, let's really look at this because this is a major problem in our world today, in our society today. We don't even know what the proper digestion is about, let alone what a good bowel movement is supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. And so today we have Dr. Jennifer Gramith and ND and Dr. Cindy Stillwell, ND, of Rightway Health and Wellness. And they're going to give us their love and knowledge and support because that's what we do here in the classroom. So welcome, ladies. It is so nice that you guys are here today. And it's always nice to have our little girl giggle chat right before the classroom. So let's start with you, Dr. Jen. Let's share a little bit about your background because, everybody, we don't know where people are when they're tuning in, especially if they're tuning in for the first time at whenyouneedafriend.com. Share a little bit about your background and what led you to the passion to become a naturopathic doctor.
So, my background is in traditional medicine. As a nurse, I worked in oncology, cardiology, internal medicine, short little span in colon therapy. So that, was my foundation. And I would probably still be in that path had it not been for my father developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And we did, of course, at that point in time, I worked in oncology. So we did chemo, radiation, destroyed his heart, gave him less than 2 months to live. And I was devastated. fortunately for me, my medical director was big into holistic medicine. I thought it was quackery, but I didn't have any other options. I had been praying for help, and he introduced me to a man who cured himself of brain cancer, and I took my father to him, and that was the start of my journey. So my father survived past the 2-month point. 6 months later, tumors half their size. A year later, he was cancer-free. And as I'm watching patients get sicker and sicker, I'm watching my father through the same diagnosis get stronger and stronger. I couldn't reconcile that. So I decided to go back to school and become a naturopathic doctor and help people with the challenges of chronic illness, and especially around cancer. And that's what I've been doing for now almost 30 years.
I have to ask you, who was the doctor that you took your dad to?
It was a doctor it was our doctors in Chattanooga at Diagnostic Group. Yeah. It's a group of them.
Is there a name? Okay.
I don't remember exactly
because
who
I've interviewed a doctor that was given 8 weeks to live. He had a brain tumor.
The doctor. This was a neurologist, Jim Hanksteffer in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that helped my father. His original oncologist was one of his pilot buddies, but he was all traditional oncology, which he's the one who did the chemoradiation. And he really, truly wanted to help my father because they were close friends, but it was just too much. It destroyed his heart. I mean, he had a history of being exposed to pesticides from crop dusting, and, you just combine the, toxins over and over again. It was just too much.
Yeah. And, you and I have talked about it here in the classroom as well. And what a great teacher your father was, although he had to sacrifice his life for you to learn. But it was wonderful that you were able to learn, because a lot of people in our life are teachers, but we never learn what not to do, to do. And we just, it's in vain. And so your father, what a great teacher for you to learn from. And now you can see your patients through that as well. So I want to thank you for taking advantage, even though it was a difficult lesson to learn, but you learned the lesson well. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. No, it was I've learned as I've gotten older is that our journey, it's just one day at a time, and it's taken us down a path of exactly that. You're learning what you need to know to be able to help others. It's information that God has shown us to be able to go out and impact others. We can't keep it to ourselves. We can't just okay, I'm just going to do it for me and my family. No, our purpose is to share that truth.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's why I say it's our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge. You normally say it today. I didn't say it, but that is absolutely 100% where we need to be focused on our intention. And I know that you also surround yourself with people that also focus on that intention. And today we have Dr. Cindy Stillwell. So Dr. Cindy, share a little bit about yourself and what led you to this naturopathic route before we start talking about digestion and the ultimate in digestion.
I probably was one of the worst offenders in terms of every fast food drive-through, drinking sodas. And I always tell my clients, if you ever feel like I'm doing this, then I know that there are 3 more pointing back at me. So I ended up having neck surgery, and I bounced back really quickly, went back to work, not a problem. 2 years later, I injured the same C6, C7 and had surgery again, and did not recover well after that time. And my doctor, ironically, said, maybe you should try some whole food vitamins. I didn't even know what that meant, whole food vitamins. And so I ended up learning from a mentor locally here. And I actually became very upset, honestly angry, to learn what was in our food and what, certain organizations allow to be put into our water supply and our food supply, and the damage that I actually did to my son growing up because of not knowing that. And so it became, my heart's desire to protect my family. So just like, Dr. Jen just said, she couldn't just do it for herself. Well, that's all I was going to do. I was just going to protect myself and my family. Well, God had other plans. And so I went through several different programs and then ended up being certified in the lymphatic therapy and also did my naturopathic degree. So
wonderful, wonderful. Again, most of us, unfortunately, come to natural medicine through our own disappointment with allopathic medicine.
mhm.
And so I always say, there are people that learn from other people's mistakes and choices. And I truly believe there are no mistakes. They're just learning and growth experiences. And then there's others that have to go through it themselves. And so I loved learning. I'm the youngest daughter of I'm the second to the youngest, because the youngest daughter, my brother, is younger than me, but I loved learning from my siblings. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't make poor choices for myself, but I didn't make the poor choices they made. I made my own. So I was an original, but at least I did not create the same journey. I learned from it, made different choices that may have worked for me. But it's wonderful that if we have that mentality that everything is a learning experience, everything. And if we can just learn from everybody and have that curiosity, we would probably get rid of 50% of some of the choices that we would make and make better choices for ourselves. So with that in mind, when I think of digestive issues, as healthy as I eat, I've had major drugs that I was on since childhood for asthma and then for thyroid. And so I truly believe that has stayed, especially with the acid blockers and the Nexiums and the purple pills and the blue pills and the yellow pills, all those pills that I was given from misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis. But let's talk about, why are there so many digestive issues in the world? Not, let's just, we're talking about the United States here, but in the world. Can we start with you, Dr. Jen?
Yeah. So, the main reason is the diet. Our diet is high in, fats and processed foods that are full of environmental toxins. So that's the main reason, is most individuals, if you look at the research with the CDC, and John Hopkins has done a lot of research on it, it's a high percentage. It's like 80-90% of the population has some sort of digestive issues. And whether it's IBS or it's just GERD or, any type of dysbiosis, everybody seems like today has some kind of issue. So you have to look at, number one, look at your diet. That's the first step. And then if your diet is cleaned up and you're doing organic, then you have to look at your exposures, your environmental exposures from the past. And so, just like you said, medications are a big reason most people have gut dysbiosis. And it doesn't have to be gut medications. It's any medication that you take, whether it's for arthritis or just a ibuprofen because you have a headache. All of that causes leaky gut. Now, I knew about leaky gut back when I worked in oncology, because chemotherapy radiation causes leaky gut, very rapidly. And Dr. Zach Bush, as well as I do, and Cindy, and that's why he developed the Ion Gut Health, and it used to be called Restore, I believe, but now it's called Ion Gut. So because the very reason, the chemotherapy caused the leaky gut in his patients, and you can't get well if you have leaky gut, right? So
how do you solve this leaky gut problem? Because are you saying, what I'm hearing you say is that the majority of the people have leaky gut because of medications, because of other choices that we've made in our lifetime?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And so sometimes you're born with, an issue with the gut due to parents' exposure. So sometimes things are passed down and then just compiled upon. Because if you look at the cord blood of newborn babies, there's hundreds of toxins. Well, any heavy metal, any industrial chemical toxin you have in the body has the potential of causing leaky gut. And what leaky gut is these little micro tears in the intestinal lining that shouldn't be there. So when you have toxins in the body, they're leaked out into the bloodstream and it goes everywhere. So these toxins that should be, in the stool, in the toilet, are in the body. I mean, they're everywhere. They're in the circulatory system and every system of the body, the lymphatic system. And so that's it's a huge problem. And so you really can't make a major impact on someone's immune system if you don't heal the leaky gut, because you're just constantly putting toxins back into the blood supply and the lymph system. So,
yeah. Would you like to add anything to that, Dr. Cindy?
The ion gut is the way Dr. Zach Bush talks about it is there's damage to the tight junctions. And one of the things that is a big contributing factor to that, in addition to the medications and the chemo, is glyphosate. And it's the Roundup, and the glyphosate is a part of that Roundup. And it is specifically what the ion gut health can contribute, to healing because of that. So,
okay.
And
so you agree? Go ahead.
I do. Yes. I mean, I come at it from a little bit different, just based on my training from Dr. Loomis at the Loomis Institute, or now the Food Enzyme Institute, just because you can have gut issues even without the medications, even without, the glyphosate, even without, I can sit down and I can eat an organic, beautiful salad, every color of the rainbow, no dressing, just, really pure. And I will not digest the proteins or the fats, because that's just the weakness innately in my body, that I have trouble digesting those particular components. And so without taking a digestive enzyme when I eat, when things get into the small intestine, they're too big, the pieces are too big, and they putrefy. And then there's another point of toxins going across the gut wall and and I love the way that Dr. Loomis says this. He says, then those toxins flocculate to different parts of the body. And so it manifests based on your weaknesses. So it could be, any type of itis, arthritis, or, just joint pain, or lupus, or, lots of different irritable bowel. It can just manifest in different places based on those toxins.
Now, as you guys are speaking, I'm having this imagery of needing to call someone that does, like spackling, or like getting something, a spackle thing, so that there's no hole. Like if I put a nail in the wall and I see a hole, I want to move it, I don't like it, you end up with all these little holes, and you can just take something and and spackle it down. And sometimes it has a different color, and when it's ready, and you can paint over it or whatever. How easy is it to repair the gut? And I don't know which one of you would like to answer that.
It's not easy, for sure. And that's one of the things that we really struggle. And, like Cindy says, the enzymes is a key part of it. But the reason you don't produce the enzymes is because of the history of the accumulation of heavy metals, chemicals that are causing dysfunction in your endocrine system, which is responsible for your digestion. And so it goes, back to the level of toxicity that was passed down to you, what you've been exposed to through your life. And these toxins just don't go away. Now, your body, your immune system is designed, just like you talked about the, holes in the wall of spackling. Well, what happens with an individual who has little micro tears in the cardiovascular system? The body's way of fixing that is putting plaque up on the wall to stop the hole, stop the leakage. And so I was listening to a cardiologist talk about salt and how table salt has, a third crushed glass, a third sand, and then salt, and how that scrapes the arterial walls. And then we're having the plaquing issue and the blockage due to the body's own natural immune system trying to fix that problem. And so it's very similar like that in the gut. Your immune system is trying to clean it up, but you've got to give your digestive system a break and be able to fast a little bit to increase your good bacteria in the gut, increase your enzyme production by taking those types of enzymes that are needed. And Loomis has the best enzymes out there. That's the ones that I highly recommend. And what's great about Dr. Loomis is he has developed a formulation, for different conditions. It's not a one enzyme fits all type of approach, which is what you see when you buy enzymes over the counter. It has amylase, protease, and lipase. It helps you digest proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. But you may be an individual that needs more lipase, than protease, or especially if you're, vegan, or you may need, more amylase or whatever, so the formulations that he has are quite amazing. I am doing a corporate Dr. Jen's 30-day gut repair program, which incorporates fasting and, different types. So it starts with an intermittent fast for 7 days. And so you're kind of prepping the digestive system, slowing things down so that your immune system can start working on cleaning up the trash in the gut, the growth of candida and all of that. So that's the first week. And then the second week gets into juice fasting, which Lillian, we've done on your show, and how beneficial that is. And that just gives the body all the critical nutrients it needs to rebuild that gut. Okay. And then the third week is going to be a combination of water fasting for 3 days to reach autophagy so that you can get that deep, deep healing in the gut and, really turn your immune system on. And then we'll go back to the juice feasting with the fruits and vegetables for the remainder of the 4 days that week, and then back to intermittent fasting. And then I'll teach you all about food combining so that your gut doesn't get back into the shape that it was prior. So that's how you can really heal your gut. You can do it with supplementation. It just takes a lot longer. And if you're still eating the standard American diet, you can't heal the gut with the standard American diet.
Yeah. And so this whole experience that Dr. Jen has talked about starts on September 1st through September 30th.
Right.
And the cost for that, and it's including whatever supplements, whatever it's included in the price, is $299. However, we love a good deal in the classroom. You can get it early if you register early. And I don't know how long early registration is going to be.
So August 1st. August 1st.
So that's $249. But wait. You also get 20% off if you enter Lily 20. And is it for only people with the first time purchase, or is it for everybody?
It's going to be for everybody. So everybody who goes on to shop Rightway Health, you will scroll down when you get to that website and it'll say Dr. Jen's 30-day gut repair. And you just type in the promo code Lily20 and you'll get 20% off. So whether it's the early birds, 20% off, or if you do late, it's 20% off.
That's awesome. That's a whole month of guided. Now, how often will you be meeting with
weekly? We're going to meet weekly. It's going to be recorded. But it's going to be live and then recorded for those who can't make it. But each week I'm going to be talking about the digestive system and what we're trying to accomplish and what they can experience, much like what we did with your group.
Yes. And for those of you who are interested in the liver gallbladder cleanse, it's also at whenyouneedafriend.com. It's amazing. People want to be well, but people don't want to change their lifestyle.
Right.
So with that in mind, what are some signs that the body is telling us, that our body says, psst, psst, something's wrong, and we ignore it. And so the body gets a megaphone and says, okay, something's wrong now. We still ignore it. And then all of a sudden you drop dead, or you have a heart attack, a stroke, or
you get a diagnosis.
Get a diagnosis. And there we go. That diagnosis, if you're lucky, you get a diagnosis, because sometimes, a stroke will happen, or it could cause, or heart attack can cause death. Cancer, at least you now know what your body is deficient in. You can start that process of that reversal, but sometimes you can't. So what are some of the signs that people are ignoring today that they may want to pay attention to?
Right. So, it's simple things like, as far as digestive, it's the bloating and the acid reflux and the fatigue after eating a meal, or the nausea, sometimes headaches, sometimes joint pain. Those are just little warning lights, that are going off to say, hey, there's something not quite right. But I think people, we are just so trained to, like you said, take a pill for every ill, that we just pop the pill and we think that we're fine. No, all you're doing is putting a black piece of tape over that light that's shining, warning, 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 and you're ignoring it. And in the terrain of your gut, it's getting worse and worse. And that's what leads to the heart attack, the cancer, the diabetes, because you've ignored it. So if you pay attention to those early signs, then and do something, then you can prevent all types of chronic illness, not just cancer, not just diabetes. I mean, all of the autoimmune diseases, all of that ties back to a healthy gut. Cindy, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of different, even food cravings. You have specific food cravings based on deficiencies in the body. But I think one of the things that I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to get around to be able to help the majority of people, when we are in a sympathetic dominance, we cannot digest our food. And the majority of us live in that sympathetic dominance right now.
Can you explain a little bit more about sympathetic dominance? That's the first time I've heard that terminology.
So there is parasympathetic, and when we are in parasympathetic, it's all a part of the central nervous system. So there's parasympathetic and then the sympathetic. In the parasympathetic, it's where we repair, rejuvenate, restore, and where we also digest our food. And if we're in the sympathetic, it's where we're trying to outrun the bear.
Okay.
So all of your natural resources are literally going out to the muscles, because you're just trying to get away, and so your body is just not focused on what the internal organs are required to be doing at that point. And the other thing is that sometimes it's just so simple, and I want people to be able to teach their children. I don't know if you remember your grandmother saying, chew your food 30 times. It's like, when it should not be, whatever is leaving your mouth and going towards your stomach should not be recognizable as to what it was when it entered your mouth. But we take way too big a bite. We don't chew our food properly. We eat standing up or in the car, on the run, however you want. And look, again, I've been there, do that. I was going to say done that, but I do that.
I was going to ask you if you've been following me around.
No, because
is this an intervention?
Yeah. I mean, it's all of us, but if it's when when you've been told and then it's a choice. Yes. Right. When you don't know, it's not a choice. You just don't know.
When you know better, you do better. Yes.
So when you walk into a restaurant or your mom's kitchen or wherever, and you smell that food and your mouth starts watering, that's amylase. That's the beginning of the digestive process. So by using a microwave, not only are you, and I know there's a lot of debate on microwaves, but you're rearranging the molecules, you're destroying any nutrition that's in the food. You may as well eat the box the food came in. But the other thing that you're doing is you're bypassing the entire connection with your food. When you stand over a stove and you're heating the food and you're smelling it and your mouth starts watering, you're starting that digestive process right there. And so we've moved so far away. Our food is so instant, and it's just, we just don't have the same connection with our food that we did. And then, like we talked about before, I mean, when it gets to the stomach over the age of 35, we don't make as much hydrochloric acid. And so we have a harder time digesting proteins, especially animal proteins. And so we actually, Dr. Loomis has 6 different formulas that we use depending on your needs, and they're weighted in the different enzymes to address those individual needs. And so we have a formula that's specific for people over 35, and just helps with breaking that animal protein down in a much more effective way. And so it's a process, right? And the reason I want to bring that up and talk about it is because there may be people listening to this that say, I don't have any symptoms, I don't take any medication, I don't do these things, so this doesn't apply to me. But I bet you the things that I just talked about do. Because those are the things that get you to where you're taking the medication. When you take the purple pill, you are completely turning off your digestion. So it is simply a matter of time beyond all the other side effects and things that happen from that. But you are going to have gastrointestinal issues. You're going to have bowel movement issues. You're going to have all kinds of issues from the simple fact that you can't digest your food.
Okay. So you said, and I've heard said several times, not all enzymes are created equal. Not all guts are created equal. So are there, because you're talking about the Loomis digestive enzymes, but are there things and ingredients that, like people say, well, I have a digestive enzyme, but maybe there are some ingredients in there that can cause more harm than good. Is there a warning as to that, Dr. Cindy, that you could provide? Maybe there's a particular chemical or an additive or a filler that they should look at their digestive enzymes and say, I need to put this aside and get the ones that you are talking about.
There are definitely some questionable ingredients. And, I'll be honest, because I don't tend to, I've been working with Loomis for so long, for I think 17 years or something, like 18 years, something like that. So it's, Dr. Jen, you might actually know some of the names of the chemicals and stuff that I'm thinking of. But
yeah, and it gets, they put it in some high quality supplements as well. Magnesium stearate.
That's the one I was told about. I was wondering, I just wanted to hear it. I didn't want to lead the witness. Okay. So stearate. So talk a little bit more about stearate.
Yeah. So, a lot of these companies for longer shelf life, and even some of the good companies, some of the ones that I've worked with, I have to really stay on top of it because, one production, they won't have it, and then they'll change their formulation, and then now it has it in it. So I have to find another source because that stops. Magnesium stearate will stop your ability to absorb the nutrient, the enzyme, or the, herb or whatever, because it's in all types of supplements. It'll affect your ability to absorb it. And so it creates inflammation. So it just feeds in this cycle of the inflammatory process. So supplements can be toxic, especially over-the-counter, Walmart supplements. It's best to get these nutrients in your food. That's one reason we juice. But if you're going to take a supplement, you better make sure that's a high quality supplement like Loomis. And, if it's a supplement you bought at the health food store that was $10, I guarantee it's full of probably more than, 4 or 5 different known endocrine disruptors or gut inflammation, activators in it. So, there's all kinds of stuff that you would just be shocked if you looked it up to see what the toxicity, what happens to the body. It usually works totally against what you're trying to do. Just like a lot of the pharmaceutical drugs you see on commercials that talks about, take this for GERD, but it may cause cancer, or it may cause, it's all the side effects are worse than the actual, reason you're taking it.
Yeah.
So it's not quite that bad with supplements, but it can be if you're not taking quality supplements.
Yeah. And the part that just blows me away is while they're saying it could cause leaky gut, heartburn, or death, you're seeing these people like in the beach having fun with their family, looking great, their skin is flawless. And you want that, you want the picture, you don't necessarily want the side effect. So you put the picture, you put the side effect aside because you want what you see.
Right. It's a marketing, it's a marketing strategy.
Yes,
we need to really create a commercial to tell the truth, and you can see dark circles under the eyes, and stomach cramps and the diarrhea on the commercial with the people taking the medicine. But that's not going to sell any medications. So
no, let's make it sexy. Let's make it really beautiful there. No, so before we start talking about, because I do have other questions about that, because when you look at the word magnesium, you think,
safe.
That's good.
Yeah.
But then stearate after that, magnesium stearate, that's bad. So that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I was using after the class I just went out and I got one because I wanted it right away. I wanted to try the digestive enzymes. I did not know it. And my doctor here locally said it had magnesium stearate. And so like today after the class today, I'm going to get my 20% off, and I am going to go to shop Rightway. We're going to go to shop rightwayhealth.com and get my the right dose. So before we talked about my right dose, maybe all of yours, we have some questions here in the classroom, but I do want to acknowledge our website. I want to let you know that we are now live at whenyouneedafriend.com. So if you don't like being, because it's a social dilemma, it's a dilemma for you to be a part of Facebook or YouTube. Now we have you, we're live. So all of you go check it out. Make sure it's still functioning. We had some major issues this week. But we're okay now, but make sure that you subscribe to whenyouneedafriend.com. You're going to get an email. It might be in your junk mail afterwards saying, hey, did you really subscribe? Do you want to opt in? You say, yes, I do want to confirm. So make sure you follow that step. Not only just put it in the bar, enter your email. When you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, there's an orange bar. You can just write down your email, hit send, but then you're going to get an email saying, hey, did you really do this? Or did Lillian kind of trick you into this? You can say, no, I did it. So you can send the email back to us, and then immediately you become a subscriber in the classroom, and you'll be notified when every week with my blog. Like if you want to know how to get a hold of Dr. Gramith, then all you have to do is click on her name and it'll take you straight there. Same as we weren't aware at the time that Dr. Cindy was going to join us, but now we will go back and we'll include her name in there and we'll add her contact information as well. That's simple. You don't even have to think very much. I'm like scrubbing bubbles. I work hard, so you don't have to. So those are some of the things that when you're at whenyouneedafriend.com, please like and follow me on social media, and also check out Dr. Gramith. Go to the sponsors page, check her out. It'll take you straight to her website as well. And if you enter Lily20, you get 20% not only off the product, but we're talking today about this gut, brain, and what's the other one?
Immune
system. I scrabbled it like it was that one.
Yeah.
And so you can get 20% off of that. And there's already a discounted early registration. So take advantage of these things now. Because you say if you didn't do it tomorrow, that's a lie. That's just a lie. That's just avoidance. But do it now. That way you're committed and you get it done. And you can also go to my Shop Now bag and help out the classroom that way. Not only are you helping Dr. Gramith when you click on her link, but when you click on the Shop Now bag, you help us out. We have increased the cost just by adding certain things because we need to make sure everything runs smoothly. So we do need your contributions, whether it's $1, your donation with $1 or $1,000 a month, or it's a one-time donation of 50 cents. We are very grateful to everything that we get. Everything. And that'll help us grow so that we can continue learning and growing together and sharing this information. Today, we have Dr. Jennifer Gramith and Dr. Cindy Stillwell. And both of them are with Rightway Health and Wellness. And the way you get a hold of Rightway Health and Wellness, let's say you don't want to call on the computer, or send an email or check it out. You can call them at 404-474-2100. And let me tell you, it'll be worth your call. I get lots of people that say they're really excited to speak to Dr. Gramith or the team and to get that percentage off. So take advantage of all the resources that you are learning about. You could also go to rightwayhealthandwellness.com, not just the shop rightway.com, but you can go to rightwayhealthandwellness.com. So today we're talking about gut health, the ultimate in digestion, not indigestion. We have gotten so used to being sick. Could you share a little bit more about why are we so used to being sick, Dr. Gramith?
Yeah, it's because it's just, you start having symptoms early on and they throw a medication at you and your symptoms go away. And for a while you feel better and you don't have that acid reflux or that GERD. But then it just progresses into an ulceration. Now you have ulcers in your stomach and, they start giving you a new medication for the ulcers. And then you've now been diagnosed with colitis. And it just goes on and on and on because you're not addressing the root cause. And the root cause initially is diet, what you're eating. Now, like you said, there's so many people who have, like you, Lily, that have cleaned up their diet and they're eating things right, but they still have the damage. They haven't been able to heal completely from the damage from their prior lifestyle and diet and their genetics. So, you have to take that into account. And just like you said, everybody's digestive system is different. They may have a lot of the same symptoms. One may have too much acid and the other one not enough acid, but they have a lot of bloating and gas and constipation and or diarrhea. So they can have the same symptoms. It's up to the practitioner to help them understand what is the cause and give them the right enzyme, the right probiotic for their gut health. And so those are two things that are extremely important. But I have, I've worked with patients because my specialty is the immune system. Well, 80 to 80% of the immune system lies in the gut. And so in order for me to help their immune system become stronger and work more efficiently, I can't do that unless I heal the gut. And so I really try hard to, give them everything. And I have learned over the years that without the fasting regimen and the time away from the food, now, not everybody can do fasting. Okay. There are certain people that it's just not a good idea. So we have to do a work around the fasting. But when you can do it, like we're going to do it on the 30-day gut repair, gut brain. And I say gut, brain, and immune because that's what's going to be affected. I was looking at a study yesterday from Johns Hopkins, and it was the brain-gut connection, because I was always trained that people who have a lot of stress, and this is true, people who have a lot of stress increase cortisol, and cortisol causes all the inflammation in the gut, and leads to gut disease. Well, they have discovered with their research that it works both ways. People who have the standard American diet, who create gut inflammation by the foods and the things that they put into their body creates mental illness. And so, you got to find out what came first, the chicken or the egg. So if it is the diet and lifestyle, some patients saw an improvement just by adding a good probiotic to their diet with anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so the root of the problem wasn't all the trauma that they went through. It was the state of their gut. There's 100 billion nerve cells in the gut. So it's like your second brain. And that's, what this study at Johns Hopkins brought out. And it was pretty amazing. And it's shifting the mindset of medicine as we know it today. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that.
That is unbelievable. I heard about that study a while ago. That study's been around for a long time. Why psychiatry hasn't caught up to that? Why psychology hasn't caught up to that? And why the allopathic profession and many of the doctors, even functional medicine doctors, still don't know about how the gut affects the brain. It is right. That gut-brain connection is unbelievable. The same cell that made the gut made the heart, made the brain. I mean, it's amazing. Would you like to add anything to what Dr. Jen said, Dr. Cindy? Is there anything like you would like to add to what she was just saying?
I do thermography too. And so people will ask me, what is my doctor going to think about my thermogram? And typically, I have no idea what their doctor will think, but I will say to them, if your doctor tells you that what you eat makes no difference in your health, then they're probably not going to see any value in the thermography either. It's an education for them. And I'm hopeful that they will start to understand. Unfortunately, what I've seen is very, very sick individuals with cancer who are losing weight. They have them drink milkshakes and things like that. So they're adding a burden to the body that's already overly burdened and unable to, heal from everything that they've been doing. And they're just putting that right back on top of it. So
it's sad. It's sad. And
yeah.
And what's so sad about it is that prior to getting a diploma, we are so curious. We're so curious. But once we get that diploma, it seems like most people are done growing. They're done. They might take continuing education credits, but that's a particular mindset. It'd be nice. I love hearing about the integrative, where they take a little bit of both. That's better than just going straight allopathic. I love it when at least someone is curious about, okay, well, how are other places doing it? How do herbalists do this? How to and incorporate that? That's what I love about, Dr. Cowden, Dr. Lee Cowden. He was classically trained, allopathically trained, but it was his mother-in-law, an herbalist that made him question what this is all about. Right. What would you like to add to people to wake them up before we start asking questions?
One of the things, there's a litmus test that I use, and that is everything that you put in your mouth. It is one of two things. It is either fuel or it's filler. Mm-hmm. And if you can condition yourself to kind of ask yourself that question every time that you're eating and even drinking, is this something that is fuel for my body? And I know Dr. Jen mentioned it earlier. If you are sleepy after you eat, that is because your body's working so hard trying to digest that food. It has no other resources. It repairs when you rest. And so it wants you to rest so that it can do its job. So just being able to answer that question and know what it is that you're putting into your body, whether it is that fuel or whether it truly is filler. And there's for people who are not battling a significant health issue, I tend to go with an 80-20. I'm not real black and white, and I didn't make all of my changes overnight, and I still have things that I could do better. So I try to have that grace with people when they're not battling something significant, and so an 80-20 rule. I try not to have things in my home that are going to cause me to eat a lot of filler. But if I go out, I don't have to worry about it as much. One of the things about the enzymes, just to kind of circle back around to that very quickly, is that the units or the way in which that they are measured is not standardized across all companies. And it's very, very, very difficult to look at a bottle of enzymes and be able to really tell how effective they're going to be by looking at the amount of protease or the amount of, the different formulas. And Dr. Loomis has spent 40 years, actually, he jokingly says he was an overnight success after 30 years.
Cute.
And, but he painstakingly went, or he gave formulas to his patients, creating and perfecting these formulas that he has. So he has ones that are, significant in using herbs as food for the endocrine system and the circulatory system and all kinds of things, as well as the digestive enzymes in the capsule. Because if you have an incompetent digestive system, sometimes even taking those supplements, you can't get them past that incompetent digestive system, but with his, you can.
Say a little bit more about that. I mean, what makes it, is it because of the formulation? Is that what makes it do that?
He actually, so the herbs that are in the capsule, he actually will put the digestive enzymes in the capsule with the herbs, so that when you take the capsules and drink water or any liquid that will actually dissolve the capsule, the herbs are already, or excuse me, the enzymes are already there to actually digest those herbs if your system isn't able to break those down and isn't able to actually process them.
Wow.
Take advantage of them.
Wow. Are there other, before we, because as you know, we have the Teacher's Pet Corner, and I see that you have questions, and we'll ask your questions at the Teacher's Pet Corner. And for those of you who are new, type in a Q, write your question down. If you are watching on whenyouneedafriend.com, you can text me your questions and I will ask them during the Teacher's Pet Corner. So if you're watching or listening, if you're listening on podcast, which by the way, you guys are rocking podcast. If you're listening on podcast, please know that we have an extended broadcast or broad class that we call the Teacher's Pet Corner that happens after the disclaimer. We ask questions from or answer questions from the audience when we do have time. So please feel free to join us and watch the rest of the class. If somebody is saying, okay, like Dr. Cindy said, well, that doesn't sound like me. That doesn't sound like me. What would your advice be? We only have 2 minutes. So a minute for Dr. Gramith, a minute for Dr. Stillwell. What would you say to them that think that this does not pertain to them? What would you say, Dr. Jen?
It pertains to everyone. I mean, it's a problem everyone has to some degree. You may not have the typical GERD symptoms. You may have headaches. You may have joint pain. You may have fatigue, but you're going to have some type of symptom, whether you associate it with the enzyme or gut dysbiosis or not. So everyone has a broken down, compromised, unless you have lived in a bubble and your parents lived in a bubble and your grandparents lived in a bubble, you are not going to have a healthy, full functioning gastrointestinal system. It's just not seen today. And it's going to get worse. And so I encourage you, moms and dads out there, to pay attention to your young children saying, my stomach hurts every time I eat, or and because a lot of times we just think, oh, it's just they're anxious. All these kids have anxiety today. Well, why do they have that anxiety? Is it because their gut health is so bad? So simple things you can do: get a good enzyme. There's chewable enzymes with Dr. Loomis that I take. I love those. Kids can take those, and then good probiotics. And you need a wide variety of the different strains. There's, 30 to 100 different strains, and you need to rotate them. You need more of the good bacteria in the gut. People are asking me about prebiotics. Well, prebiotics just help feed the good bacteria. So, they have a purpose too, but just start with a really good probiotic and give it to your children. And, that's a great way to prevent these chronic issues with the gut health.
Very good. Is there anything you'd like to add, Dr. Cindy?
One thing that just popped into my mind is that so many people will tell me that they're taking enzymes throughout the day, but they're not taking them when they eat.
Okay.
You take digestive enzymes when you're trying to digest.
That's right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and more after the class today and the Teacher's Pet Corner. We're going to answer your questions as well. Thank you for the two of you for this wonderful information. And I want to thank all of you for watching today and listening on podcast as well. And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott, Dr. Jennifer Gramith, and Dr. Cindy Stillwell, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Okay, we've got some questions, and I want to take care of that because I don't know how much. I didn't even ask you because we were with silly girls before.
I have all the time in the world.
Okay. Okay. So the first question is, does the fee of your gut health program include supplements like Loomis enzymes? Does this program also address metals? Is it true that parasites and candida feast on metals? Oh, wow. That's a bunch of questions. That's great questions.
So it does not include the enzymes. It includes the probiotics and the ion gut health to repair the leaky gut. So that's because we're doing the juicing to get the enzyme benefit in the fast. There would be some certain people that may benefit from taking the enzymes during this fast, but definitely once the fast is over, they would need to take the enzymes. So they'll learn all about the enzymes during the program.
Yes. And I do want to talk about, each case, like with me, I'll expose myself, I always do, not in a physical sense. But,
good thing.
It sounded better in my head. Okay. So what I'm saying is I'll share my story and maybe you could tell me what would work for me. And somebody else might say, okay, well, that sounds very similar to me, but they may need something different is what I'm hearing you guys say.
Right.
Okay. So the other question, is it true that parasites and candida feast on metals?
Yeah, that's a good.
Will your program address metals?
Our program addresses metals, pathogens. So as far as feeding off of metals, I would not say that. However, having a toxicity of metals are going to impede and cause more dysfunction in your gut, in all of your endocrine system. And so that's going to definitely cause more candida overgrowth. It's a lot to do with the other, it's the balance between the good and the bad bacterias. And so when you have leaky gut, you're going to have an overgrowth of not just candida. There's a lot of different Clostridium, nasty gut bacteria that just kind of take over, create tons of inflammation. That inflammation is then leaked into the circulatory system and it causes damage to your heart, to your other vital organs. And so, the easiest way that I have found to heal the gut is by doing a combination of fasting, probiotics with herbs. There's herbs like Cape aloe and slippery elm and things like that that really help to repair the gut. And then, of course, Dr. Zach Bush, Ion Gut Health, he developed that specifically for patients who had undergone chemotherapy because chemo causes the leaky gut almost instantly. And so, you can't you can't overcome a disease process if you can't get their immune system functioning again. So,
anything you'd like to add, Dr. Cindy?
I was intently listening to Dr. Gramith.
Well, it was specifically about the
metals,
the
feeding
30
off the
days,
metals.
But I wanted to see if you had any research on the metals and when it came to Candida.
No, I just agree with what Dr. Jen said on that. I don't have anything additional.
Okay, so the next question is from Carol. What if dysbiosis is caused by the MMC, migrating motor complex, that has been damaged and not functioning correctly? I've never heard of MMC.
So you have to still go back to what caused the damage.
Mm-hmm.
What was that damage? And was it damaged because of heavy metals? Was it damaged due to a virus that you contracted? Was it a bacteria? I mean, you have to always get to not just look at the damaged organ, gland, or system, but why? Why is it? And that's why it's different in every person. So if I was to treat a person who had damage and leaky gut due to glyphosate, if I only treated the bacteria in their gut and I didn't deal with the pesticide that caused the issue in the first place, you're only going to get so far. And so it's never, ever just one cause, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And just to go back to the heavy metal issue, dealing with Lyme patients, it took us years before we learned that we can't even get to that bacterium unless we remove the heavy metals. So we actually had to remove the heavy metals before our treatment would stop the growth of the Lyme, the Borrelia, or the Babesia, or the other types of components. So, we're still learning things about the gut terrain and balance, and which bacteria are good and which are not good. And so, it's still a learning process. But I have found the best results, with just giving the digestive system a break. I think we, in the United States, we overfeed. We're constantly putting stuff in our mouth. We're grazing. We don't take breaks. Like Cindy said, most people are in sympathetic overdrive. They're in that fight or flight 24/7. Their digestive system is shut down, and their blood is going everywhere else to get their muscles moving because they're running away from that saber-tooth tiger or that bear or whatever. And it's not just something that happens once in a while. It's happening to a lot of people every single day. So that shuts your digestive system down. Yep. It shuts your immune system down. And so no wonder people are developing all types of autoimmune diseases, chronic illness. And it's definitely a real problem that can be easily fixed with a little intention. You pay attention to what your body is saying, you give it that support, you stop feeding the disease and start feeding your health. You got to change your mindset. It's definitely got to change your mindset.
That's right. And by the way, I Am the Solution weekend workshop is going to be the weekend of August 26th, 27th, 28th. So I scheduled the day because we rescheduled the body code to November 5th and 6th. So we rescheduled the body code, and that gave me the freedom to schedule the I Am the Solution, because we really do need to get the mindset. That mindset is critical. It'll make a difference. It'll make the difference between making the right choice and continuing to choose the same thing, expecting a different result. And how do we rewrite the program is what we talk about in the weekend workshop. But I'm just saying that these things right here, these I really believe is an underlying condition for this Lyme that's been out there, and because now they're saying that these injections are leading to other things. Why not beforehand too? And so, when I look at all the animal viruses that are in them, in these things, there's animal viruses, I wonder if Lyme is one of them that was transferred on. So, there's so important that we clean out our body. I don't want to be controversial here, but still, we really do need to start taking a look at what we put in our body.
Exactly. And even in the things, I know, Lillian, you've heard of the crops, the farm crops, the PHARM crops, where they're injecting viruses and bacterias and medications trying to create, vaccines for people. But that is in our food source. And so when you're eating the conventional way, even though you're eating lots of fruits and vegetables, you could be getting a lot of those toxins in your body. And that's where the exposures come from. Yeah. And so that's why it's really important to, choose carefully. Definitely, you got to get good quality food. Less processed foods, less animal products. But what I was saying earlier is that we eat too much. A lot of people are eating animal products every single day. And our body, like Cindy said, after the age of 35, we can't break down protein. Well, you're eating animal protein every single day, and you're not taking anything to help you to digest it. You don't need that much protein every single day, that much animal protein every single day. And so that's a huge problem. Some people eat it with every meal. They have bacon for breakfast. They have grilled chicken on their salad, and then they'll have a meatloaf with, potatoes at night. And that's, and they think, well, at least it's homemade, but it's a lot of stuff the digestive system has to break down, and it can't do that, especially when you're in sympathetic overdrive. You don't have the enzymes, you don't have the hydrochloric acid to break it down. So you're eating all of this garbage, and it's just sitting in your gut and in your colon, just breeding bacteria and
at almost 100 degrees, at under 100 degrees, exactly. Right? You're
a natural incubator. Yeah, for sure.
And one of the things too that I have found is that most people do not understand the difference between hybrid and genetically modified. I did my dissertation on Monsanto and glyphosate. And so they don't understand that the DNA of that glyphosate is literally in the plant. So it is a part of that actual, fruit of whatever you're eating, whether it's a fruit or vegetable. And, a hybrid that has been done where they're splicing the DNA of a plum and an apple or whatever, and they're making a new type of fruit. That's just a hybridization of, the fruit or the fruit's natural cellular structure. That's fine. If it tastes good, then that's great. But it's not the same. That genetically modified food is actually the DNA of glyphosate in your body. And so that is what, it's kind of like when you get a splinter in your finger, what does your body want to do to get it out? It turns red and it gets inflamed and it wants to push it out, right? When you eat genetically modified foods, your gut sees that as a foreign object. It's not food. And so your body inflames and is wanting to get it out. And I just find that there are so many people that just don't understand the difference between those things. And the last thing that I wanted to go back to too, if I may, the GERD, Dr. Jen, you mentioned about the GERD. A lot of times it has nothing to do with having too much acid. They're giving you the purple pill because but you have a compromised mucosal lining of the stomach. So one of the formulas that we use with Dr. Gramith, but you don't have to use, with Dr. Loomis, you don't have to use that. You can use the slippery elm or other things, but we have one that is specific to that because what we're doing is we have those herbs in there to heal the lining, heal that mucosal lining of the stomach, and their acid reflux goes away.
Mhm.
Interesting. I would like to learn more about that one. Let's just continue with the questions here. Does the fee of your gut health program include supplement? Oh, wait. Did
We
she
did
repeat
that
the
one.
question? Yeah. Let's see. Hold on a second. Yep, she asked the question twice, I guess, or they asked the question twice. So let me go back because I know we have some other questions. How do you get an autistic adolescent child out of sympathetic dominance? My daughter can't sleep until 3 a.m. Born this way. Novak and no.
Mhm.
And by the way, you all need to write that down.
Yeah.
Okay. And eats no processed foods. She is taking enzymes.
So that's, that you're seeing more and more of that, where it used to not be the case. It used to only be the children that had went through that series. But I see it today. And so that's one reason it prompted me to research, okay, what else is in our environment that is causing this leaky gut? And so the autism, or children on the spectrum at any degree, all have gut issues, whether they were born with it. They could very well be. It passed down from mom during pregnancy. The child did not get the full immunity. I see it every single day, some worse than others. And then the child very early on starts to develop neuroinflammation. And so they have the gut dysbiosis, they have the neural inflammation, they can't think, and then they're diagnosed on the spectrum somewhere. So heavy metals will do that. Heavy metals are everywhere. It's in all types of products. It's in our water. Even if you drink filtered water, you're going to still get it through your showers and just exposures. Glyphosate is everywhere. It's in the air, it's in the soil, it's in the ground. Even though you don't spray at your home, you're going to have exposures to these things because it's in almost everything.
Baby formula. Baby
formula. Any injection you've ever received has a heavy metal base because that's the preservative. And so it hasn't been studied until recently, the metals and the accumulation of the metals in the body. And so because it wasn't a lethal dose in there, they didn't think that it was harmful, but now we know better. Everybody can agree on that. But because of shelf life of a lot of these medications, and like I said earlier, even supplements, they're putting things like that in there, and it's creating a toxic burden. So you're seeing more and more people develop neurodegenerative diseases. So whether they're young and they're diagnosed with autism, or they're mid, 50s, 60s being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, dementia. I mean, it just goes on. And it's all due to the burden on our immune system that's just overwhelming, and it can't work properly. So you got to start pulling out the splinters, so whether it's the medications you take and the food that you're eating, the stress that you're under, you got to start pulling those out if you want a complete whole person, and you want to heal from any disease process.
Yes. What about you, Dr. Cindy? Anything you'd like to add?
I mean, it's a very challenging thing. I mean, when you want to start throwing darts at symptoms and situations, but we really do have to find the root cause. There are certainly supplements that can help. I mean, even there are Band-Aids, I'll put it that way. You can use essential oils on the bottom of their feet, just, to help improve their body's ability to come out of that sympathetic response. But we really have to take the stress off of the body. And so finding out where that stress is, for me, it's driving, because people tailgate, and it just having 2 neck surgery, it drives me crazy. So there are triggers basically. So you've got to figure out what those triggers are, and then how you can mitigate those triggers from an external perspective, and then also looking at the internal triggers.
Mm-hmm. True.
Very good. Very good. So another question from Carol, and I think this is another dysbiosis. If dysbiosis is caused by mercury toxicity, does fasting or expensive enzymes really help?
Fasting most definitely will help. The enzymes are to help with digestion because the mercury has caused, so it's not a binder, it's not a chelator that's going to pull mercury out of your tissue, organs, and glands, but it's going to help you with digestion from the damage of the mercury or whatever heavy metal you're dealing with. So, it is definitely beneficial. Fasting puts you in a state of autophagy, and autophagy starts to turn your immune system in to itself where you have problems. So if you have heavy metals in your thyroid, it's going to pull it from your thyroid. If you have it in the pancreas or in, other tissues of the body, it's going to start to chelate that out. So we use a lot of greens to bind it so it doesn't cause any damage to your liver or kidney as it is excreted through the body. And you can test for mercury excretion through urine. You can test it through sweat. A lot of people do infrared sauna therapy. That's a great way to get some of these metals and chemicals out of the body without stressing your liver or kidney. But I think you could, do a combination of both would be much more beneficial. So, you can actually measure, before and after. We do that a lot.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, Dr. Cindy?
No, I think Dr. Jen covered that really well.
Perfect. So, my story is I did not have enough digestive enzymes or I was not able to digest animal products.
Okay.
But growing up in a Hispanic home, my dad would buy half a cow, freeze them apart. We'd have T-bone steaks every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have the rice and beans, of course, and chicken and lots of eggs. And and I would, by the age of 16, my parents had taken me to the emergency room so many times because I would have, like, my stomach would get really, really bloated. And so I was diagnosed with gastritis. And so they started giving me medication for gastritis. Now, keep in mind, I was still on asthma medication too.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, they did a test where I ate something and they said I didn't have enough acid.
Mm-hmm.
I ate it like an egg white or something, and that test showed that I didn't have any acid. Moving forward, of course, that's in the back of my mind. I ended up giving up red meat and pork in my early 20s. And it was as if I denounced Christ at that moment in my family. They would have been happier if I would have walked away from my faith than walk away from a T-bone steak. But I did walk away from that. Now, moving forward, life changes and you forget about things like this. And then you start getting gastritis, or not gastritis, acid reflux. You start getting acid reflux, or what feels like an acid stomach or indigestion. So you go to an ENT and they say, oh, look, you have your vocal cords are burned. You have acid reflux. Let's give you more acid blockers. And so that went on in my life. And in the last 10 years, I have completely changed my life. But I do have the lingering effects, I believe, because someone who eats as clean as I do, not all the time. I love that 90-10 rule, that 20-80 rule. I love that rule because I don't want to guilt or shame me. Now, my guilt and shame is different. What I eat is different because I do have allergies. I don't have any dairy. You're not going to find me eating a cake, like gobbling down a cake in a corner with a lot of dairy and a lot of, I don't do that. That's not going to happen. So when I say, when I'm in my 20% or my 10%, I'm not going to worry about those things because I think the worry causes more stress and harm in the body than the actual whatever I'm eating or drinking. So that in mind, I've noticed that my bowel movements are not as healthy as they have been. Now, I just got back from vacation, which and this is going to be gross. You guys are going to get grossed out. You'll probably send me emails. But I said to my husband, I wish I could take a picture of this. This is beautiful. I went away and had a beautiful bowel movement, right? And it seems like when I'm home, everything is just garbled and mush, but now I'm on vacation, everything is great. So what did I do different? How did I do this? You know, I didn't take a picture. I took pictures of my family. I didn't take pictures of that. So with that in mind, what can I do? I eat primarily whole food, plant-based, but once in a while, again, if I want to have a piece of wild caught salmon or something that isn't a bottom dweller. I do not eat pork. I do not eat meat. I do not eat chicken. But once a year, I will have my incredible turkey that is that I make myself. So that's my diet. That's my lifestyle. And I focus a lot on mindset. I know about spirit, mind, and body, but yet my stomach, the output of my life doesn't reflect so much. But I was on major asthma medication for years and years and years. And one of them, by the way, was compared to chemotherapy. And I'd mentioned that.
So that's probably where your gut issues began, because asthma medication, especially, you know, with steroids, causes a suppressed gastric system and a suppressed immune system. And so, you know, you're very fortunate you only developed, the thyroid issue that, you know, of as far as autoimmune, because typically when you do those things, you can develop multiple autoimmune disorders. And that's why you saw it early on, where the average American who didn't have asthma taking steroids doesn't start to lose the hydrochloric acid until after age 35. However, I'm seeing earlier and earlier. I have, 20-year-olds and 15-year-olds with all these issues today. So, I don't hesitate to start them on, apple cider vinegar, or start them on a digestive enzymes with probiotics early in their life. And I think that had you done that, you could have saved yourself from, a lot of gastric issues, a lot of endocrine issues too. So it definitely does have to do with that. And, just like you said, to go on vacation, I have great bowel movements. It's less stressful. Your cortisol levels are down. Your feel-good hormones are up. You're going for a walk on the beach. All your inflammation subsides for a little bit of time.
That's it. I'm quitting.
Yeah.
This is the last show.
Yeah. But it's true. I have patients. I always love to test them after they come home from a vacation, because their ZYTO test looks so beautiful, and it's like very encouraging for them once they have taken that time and done some of those self-care. Even if you drink a little wine, or you eat a little sugar on your trip, it's really not an issue, because your stress levels are down drastically. And so now, if you go on vacation and you're going with a lot of friends and family, and it becomes very stressful, you can get very ill. A lot of times people catch the flu while they're there. I've heard of just recently, some of my patients, they came down with another case of a virus. And so, it was just too much for them. And I think that, that has a lot to do with it.
Which Loomis enzyme would you recommend for me?
I think that we need to do a little more testing to figure out exactly which ones. But it's really funny, because my family says every conversation with Cindy turns to poop. But we can tell so much.
Poop?
We can tell so much about, how well we're doing. And even if you just look at your pet, I have my sweet Elizabeth that is just my little world. But they eat and they poop. They eat and they poop. They eat and they poop. If you ask, I don't even ask my clients if they're constipated. When I first started, I did that, but now it's like, you don't even want to go there because they've been told by, someone at some point in time that that's normal for them if they go once every 5 days or once every 3 days or once every whatever. That's normal for you. No, it's not. It's not normal. And so we really should think about that. We eat and we eliminate. We eat and we eliminate. And I have this saying that we're looking for the BBB, the big brown banana.
I like that. That's perfect.
It's not Bed Bath and Beyond. It's the big brown banana. That's what we're looking for. And so if you're not getting that and you're not getting a full evacuation, then there is a problem upstream. And so we just have to figure out what that problem is. Now, some people can be doing just fine, but when they travel, they get constipated. They can't go because of the stress, and they're not drinking enough water and that kind of stuff. And there's an enzyme that can help with the descending colon that we can help that move while you're trying. I mean, he has like almost 40 different enzyme formulas.
Wow.
So, there are definitely different things, but enzymes do one of two things. They either nourish the body or they digest food. So they're going to if you take it with food, they're going to digest food. And if you take it on an empty stomach, they're going to go in, they're going to clean up the circulatory system. They can help clean up the lymphatic system. They can, just nourish the body.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say, going back to all your conversations turned to poop, it's been a while. Dr. Terry Walls is going to be coming back in the classroom.
Awesome.
And I think it's next week she's coming on. We're going to talk about relapse, MS relapse. And there's a clinical trial that she wants to talk about as well. But every time I've got a book, and I wish Robert, if he was listening, I don't know if Robert's still listening, if he could bring me the book, but the kids, my grandchildren, this is the number one book in the bathroom that my grandchildren, every single one of them, every time they come, they have to read. Robert, if you're listening to me, if you can bring me that book, you know which one it is. But when Dr. Walls is in the classroom, we have these kind of things. We just play. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have not played with my poop in a long time. Where's my poop? I gotta find my poop.
That's so true.
They make slippers like that.
What?
They make slippers like that.
Oh, they do. So thank you, Robert. Okay, so this is my grandchildren's favorite book. And when I got it, I had Dr. Walls coming on. This book is probably, I bought it used. I was donating some stuff and there it was. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to get this one because Dr. Walls was coming on. And I know that she has poop behind her everywhere. She's got stuffed poop. She's got a bunch of stuff. And so this one, and they read every single page. They read it. They love this book. Everyone, it's a quick read.
So what a lot of people don't know is what their stool means, so they, they'll look at it, and a lot of times it's just like little pellets, and it's almost like rabbit poop. And so the first thing that I ask clients is, exactly. I ask them, what does your stools look like? Is it like Cindy said, like a long banana? That's healthy. That's the way.
Big brown banana.
Yeah, big brown banana. That's healthy. But when it's little pellets, and I see that in a lot of children, they will, just have these little pellets, or, it's lumpy and bumpy, or, filled with food that they've eaten. That's going to be usually they're not getting enough fiber, they're not getting enough water, they're dehydrated. And then when it turns to more watery or runny, it's usually a bacteria thing in their gut. So they don't have enough probiotics. They also don't have enough fiber in their diet, because a lot of these kids are not eating fruits and vegetables. They're just eating processed foods, and that's not the type of fiber. Even if it says there's fiber, that's not what your body is needing. And so you need those good fruits and veggies. And so, make, parents look at your children's stools. I did the same thing because out of nursing, I did my internship with a colon specialist, and we did flexigmoidoscopies all day long and colonoscopies. And she would ask patients, how often do you, and this is a colon specialist, how often do you have a bowel movement? Oh, maybe once a week. And she'd say, well, how long has that been going on? And they would say, well, as long as I can remember, at least 10, 15 years. Well, if that's normal for you, that's normal. No, or they wouldn't be in her office, consulting with a colon specialist. And I remember, just because I was just, trained allopathically, and it just did not make sense to me even then before I knew anything. And I remember asking her, how can that be? If you eat 3 meals a day, where does all that go? And she said, oh, that's a good question. I'm thinking, well, you should know,
my goodness.
And so then I learned, when I got into becoming a naturopath and talking to people about their bowel movements, some people do have a bowel movement daily, but they're still constipated.
Correct.
And so I started recommending them doing the beet challenge test. So you eat beets, and then you tell me how long it takes before you see that red tint to your stool. And some people, who were having 2 bowel movements a day, it was a week later that they would see the red in their stool. So you knew that they had a major issue. So that's something easy to do. Anybody can check that, do the beet challenge test. Another test, I don't know if you've heard of, to see if your probiotics are worth taking, is of course, there's lab tests that are much more viable and reliable, but just at home, if you have a over-the-counter probiotic, put it in some whole milk and see if it curdles after a certain period of time, so you can do a control. And that otherwise you don't really know if your probiotics are the right kind, or if they're live.
Do you want it to curdle?
Yes. If it doesn't do anything, it's just a dead bacterium. And so you want it to curdle. But now it's not a fail-safe, test, because certain bacterias in probiotics don't make the milk curdle. So it doesn't mean it's a bad one. It's just not the most typical, like acidophilus, bifidophilus. Those will make the milk curdle. So just keep that in mind, because if you're going to take something, you definitely want to make sure it works. The safest thing to do, which I know you do, is fermented, foods. And, the kombucha, but you have to be careful with kombucha because a lot of times they put a lot of sugar in that. You don't want the sugar. I do fermented beets and kraut in my salads. I try to put a half a cup to a cup a day, at least 5 days a week. That helps to really repair the gut. So, those are simple things that you can incorporate into your diet and lifestyle that will only benefit you. Very
good. That's a good point. So Dr. Cindy, is there anything else that we can eat that will help repair the gut?
The fermented foods are great. Drinking lots of water, staying hydrated is super important. It's really more about the food choices of getting organic and, just eating clean, becoming a label reader. You really, just because something says that it's sugar-free, well, it's sugar-free because it probably has artificial sweeteners in it. If it's, so you can't just look at the marketing label. You have to really read the label of what is in there. Even a jar of pickles has high fructose corn syrup in it, which means you're getting that plus the fact that it's genetically modified.
Yeah. It's not even sugar. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, you really, I try to teach my clients how to read labels and be an avid label reader. And, and just understanding they keep changing the names of the artificial sweeteners. And I'm like the ultimate litmus test for those, because I can take one sip and it'll instantly, I know it, and it'll give me a migraine if I drink it.
Mm-hmm.
But most people are not that fortunate. They're going to consume it, and it's damaging to the body.
Yeah.
To
Your body is responding the way it should. What happens is we keep damaging our body. We keep ignoring our body. Our body eventually goes, well, your results, like when I eat something, I know right away. I mean, within 20 minutes, I know right away if it was good or not good for my body. But some people can go years and they don't even know that what they were eating does not support them. And it's because their body is so inflamed. They don't even know, the body is so busy trying to fight fires over here. It doesn't know that that terrorist has just entered their temple.
Right.
So
they slow down when you eat, slow down, because the more you chew your food and the slower, I'm always the last person at the table eating every single time. But if you eat slower, you actually feel when you get full. Mm-hmm. And so you can gauge, how much food your body really needs, or how hungry you really are. If you just slow down, chew your food well, so that it can digest better. And then you'll know when you're full, because overeating is one of the biggest issues that we have also.
Wow. Well, that's another topic to be continued. This was great. This is great information. And I really do appreciate your wisdom and knowledge that you share once a month in the classroom. Rightway Health and Wellness is the name of Dr. Gramith's clinic. And she has an incredible staff, one of them, and Dr. Cindy Stillwell. And by the way, I have to tell you this before I want to make sure I remember. I received a text from a listener. She's been a listener of the classroom for a while. And when she had said that she goes to see Dr. Stillwell. Awesome. And so she had cancer, and she said that you were phenomenal. And so I asked, hey, did you start seeing her because of this? She said, no, she had seen you before she learned about Dr. Jen, and which was we're in, the world is small. It's really small. We're getting closer and closer in these smaller circles. So it was a really nice compliment without, even asking for, it was just, she had been going to, I think maybe a year or so before, and she was able to reverse her cancer. So I was very excited to hear that. So that was good feedback from unsolicited feedback from someone I'm not even going to say the name, but I was just really glad to see. But can you share a little bit before we go about your gut brain immune system 30-day challenge?
Okay. Yeah. So, it's basically just designed to teach people how to do this. This is something that should be done at least once a year. Some people need it more than that, but it's just designed to really give that rest and digest for your digestive system, for your immune system. You'll notice, pretty drastic mood shifts as you go through this process as well. So there's a lot, in the positive, not negative. So, if you struggle with depression and anxiety, you'll just notice that just gets less and less as you go through this process. But because we are giving the digestive system a rest, when we introduce the probiotics, and that's during the water fast, is that we'll start using the probiotics and then the ion gut health, because we've allowed it to rest for a while instead of putting more and more things on it. Your body just sucks it up. It just, sucks it up. It works much quicker. It stimulates your immune response, speeds up your immune response time. And then, like I said, we'll go into, your diet of the way it was when you were growing up goes against everything that we've learned about food combining. So eating meats and carbohydrates shut down your digestive system, too. So after you finish this 30-day fast, you're going to really kind of shift. So on the days that you do eat animal products, you're going to only eat vegetables, no carbohydrates. And, you're going to learn how to eat your berries just by themselves and not drink water or any liquids with your meals, because that's one of the reasons we don't have the enzymes. We're diluting them. Initially we're diluting the amylase in our mouth, and then, we swallow our food as we take a big gulp of water, and you're going to dilute the hydrochloric acid and then the protease and lipase to break down the proteins and the fat. So you need to not drink with your meals. And that's totally different than what we do here in the United States. Now, there's some cultures that, practice that, and they have less, digestive health issues. So I was just going to throw that in there because we didn't talk about that.
You're holding out on us, Dr.
I know.
Holding out. See, all of you who are sticking around, all you teachers pet, you get the bonus. And all of you who will watch later on. Yeah. Okay. So that's September 1st through 30th.
Right.
If you go to, can you get it at Rightway?
Yeah, shoprightwayhealth.com, and then just scroll down, you'll see it listed on there. And you just click on it and then put the promotion code Lily20, and they'll get their discount.
And whether it's your first purchase or not, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Matter. Okay, everybody gets that. And there's early registration. The cost of the program is $299, but early registration is $249. But you also get that 20% off if you enter Lily20. So deal. I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Jan, for that.
Welcome.
Any final words before we go? Are we ready? Have we said everything we want to say? Because we could probably do a part 2.
We probably could.
A number 2.
Exactly. I would say this, that any of you that are interested in doing that, the products will be shipped out in August. So you register, your products will be shipped to you. So you have good time to prepare for it, but you're also getting fresh product and not something that has been sitting around for a month before you use it. Okay.
Very good. Okay, Dr.
I do have a last thing.
Okay.
And this could literally be a show in and of itself. But there are a lot of people, because they've heard that alkalinizing their cells is healthy. And that's true. But drinking alkaline water turns off your digestion.
True.
Please do not drink alkaline water, especially anytime around drinking or eating a meal or having anything, food. It's going to keep you from being able to digest anything that you have put into your stomach. So
that's great information. Especially someone like me, I had a potential sponsor that had the water and that you're talking about, and every time I drink it, I would get sick and couldn't figure it out. They got offended. They got offended that I couldn't promote them, but I'm glad I didn't know about that at the time, but I'm glad I didn't. These waters, and people swear by it. And then you read and you learn, oh, you can't drink this water when you're eating. And most people drink the water when they're eating anyway.
They drink it excessively too. So all of their water is alkaline. And that, creates more of an issue too. And in theory, back in the day, we knew that their issue with cancer and chronic illness was an acidic bloodstream. And so, of course, you try to eat foods high in alkalinity, and so the greens and things like that, but it shifts it in the blood and not in the gut. Right. So there's a huge difference, but we didn't know that information back then, but we do now. So
And
our stomach is supposed to be acidic so that it can tear everything down. Go ahead, Dr. Cindy. I didn't mean to.
I was just going to say, the best thing that you can possibly do is drink lemon water. Lemon is the most acidic thing, food on the planet. And by drinking lemon water, it's really, you're going to alkalinize your cells based on the ash of the food. Once your body processes that food, it digests it. That ash of the lemon is actually alkaline. So you're not putting
ash.
So basically, when your body burns the food that it eats, it's just called it's not a literal ash, but what is taken out to the cells is actually an alkaline product from that acidic food. So, and the lemons are lime would be fine as well. Yeah.
Citrus,
So,
yeah.
citrus, yeah. So, and especially get up in the morning and drink lemon water first thing in the morning. It's just a great way to sort of cleanse and start, your day.
Mhm.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to be doing lots of classes with water. I just completely changed my water filtration system, and now we have reverse osmosis under the counter.
Mhm.
That gets rid of everything: fluoride, chlorine, chloramine, whatever, all the pesticides and chemicals and drugs that are still in our water when we drink them. And so we're going to be doing a lot of that. Maybe we can incorporate some of this with our conversations as well, because there's a lot of myths about water. There's a
Mhm.
lot of myths
Sure.
about water. And I was one that I used to drink like maybe a gallon of water while I was eating.
Mm.
And it's because that's what I learned. This is what we learn. And so it's time to rewrite the program. And it's
Mhm.
teachers like the two of you that make my program so much easier to present. And so in the classroom, and all these students that are just devouring this information because we didn't know what we didn't know. And now we know,
Right.
and it's time to do better. So thank you, Dr. Jen and Dr. Cindy, for being in the classroom today. And I look forward to our next conversation. I really do.
We do
thank you.
too. Thank
Yeah, sounds
you.
great.
And thank you everybody for watching today. We look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.